I've always wanted to cover like a legitimate Jubilee video, like a debate between two people. I've seen Vosh do it. I've seen Hassan do it. I've seen so many lefty streamers cover Jubilee, but I've only done it once, and I think it was on the one incel dude, like the Bumblebee shirt wearing incel that was wearing yellow and black. And yeah, I kinda want to cover like an actual Jubilee video. So here we have one that is starting, from what I can tell, fairly unorthodoxly. Oh shit. Anger juice, thanks for the $10, my friend. Buy some vegetables, Zan? Oh god, you were in that one Vosh stream where I talked about how I only shit once a week, huh? Oof. Alright, listen. I'll buy some vegetables, thank you for the donation. Yeah, okay, so it looks like it's gonna start with like a guy saying, yeah, there's a pandemic, so we can't get together. Yeah, alright, let's watch.
Hey, good humans. Before we
That is very loud. That is very, very loud.
get into this episode of Middle
How's that? Is that volume good? It's really loud for me.
Ground, here's a quick teaser of the leap
That seems better. Okay, we're good now.
that's coming soon.
Very shaky.
I'm about to call my dad.
My ex-boyfriend.
Alright, no, I don't care about this, okay? We're gonna go to middle ground.
Or their uncle or their grandfather.
Nearly a dozen other states will start to ease their restrictions as they slowly start the reopening process.
It may not come back at all. There will be coronavirus in the fall.
I can see the emotional agony it causes.
Yeah, I should, oh shit, this is the guy, he's a doctor too. That's nice. Who do you think? Wait, hold on. We got a doctor who's going to be pro-lockdown. Who do you think's going to be anti-lockdown? Do you feel like it's going to be, oh, hold on, we got a few options. It could be some, like, big conservative pundit that's, like, big on Instagram or Twitter or YouTube or something. Just someone has no medical degree or anything like that and is just talking out of their ass. Some, like, really rich, media-trained economist who's like, we gotta save the economy because I've got, you know, my stocks depend on it, okay? I need to be making those dollars, all right? And then third, we have, like, a doctor who is, like, disgraced by the medical community, right? Conservatives will do this all the time. They'll bring in like a doctor that if you dig into their past is like totally disgraced and looked down upon negatively by the medical community. Alex Jones does this. You know how Alex Jones likes to sell these like supplements for like men and stuff like that? Like, these supplements will make you into a superhuman. You know how he does that and he'll have like a doctor recommend them? There's this one doctor that he would bring onto his show to recommend and endorse his supplements, and he said he was like a Harvard graduate or a Harvard alumni, and people actually did the digging, and Harvard was like, no, he is not an alumni. In fact, he's barely even like related to our school. He doesn't have a degree. Like, it's insane. So conservatives will do that. Like, they'll bring on like a not a real doctor in order to back up their ideas. All right, I'm ready.
In patients and their family members.
Restrictions should have been put on the people that are sick.
I don't think it's a good thing for our economy or our country.
So I had to lay off my employees. We have no work.
I believe that it violates our most basic of civil rights.
I wouldn't say
Can we actually acknowledge what the real problem is here? The real problem isn't the fact that well, I mean, this is a pretty big problem. Of course, there is a virus that is killing people, and that's terrible. That is an issue. But we shouldn't be in a situation where trying to prevent that virus from killing people should ruin the country, right? And ruin people's lives, where they can't get jobs and they can't or they can't work their jobs and they can't pay their bills, right? We need to have a system that actually takes care of people through all of this. The stimulus check thing, that kind of helps, right? But $1,200 a month is just not enough to be able to pay your bills, to be able to pay your mortgage, to buy food and groceries. That is not enough. A stimulus check is not enough to do this. Ideally, I feel like we should have moved to like self-isolation. You know how like a lot of people's jobs are a lot of people are realizing they could do their job just as easy over Zoom. Wait, is she unironically? Yeah, she's a Karen, duh. You know, like, school in general doesn't need to be done in like an actual schoolhouse or whatever, like an actual school. Like, you could do it online. It's totally doable. I did it for a lot of my school career. Same goes for most people's jobs. Most people can probably do their jobs from home and not have to go to work. So there's that, but you know, regardless. Yep, Zoom. What's upsetting to me is when you see these fucking boomers out on the street marching saying, we need to reopen the economy. We can't let the cure be worse than the disease. They've basically been taught that it is acceptable to have life or death option, or to have no option, right? Either we reopen the economy, they go back to work and risk getting a life-threatening disease in order to keep the economy going so they can pay their bills, or they don't go out to work, they don't get that life-threatening disease, but them and their families end up starving to death or losing their home or something because they just don't have enough money to pay for things. The fact that this idea, that this issue is even acceptable and has been normalized to the point that people just accept it, or at least conservatives just accept it, is just fucking mind-boggling to me. It blows my mind. On the net schooling, it's absolutely great for a lot of neurodivergent people. Yeah, oh, yes, absolutely. If you're neurodivergent, like if you're not neurotypical, and you just don't get along with people well, you know, anxiety, autism, anything like that, really, really nice to be able to do school from home. Now, personally, I kind of regret homeschooling for the, like, end half of my schooling career, because I think it probably deprived me of a lot of, like, not social skills, but a lot of speaking skills, because I didn't talk a lot, right? Like, when you're home all day doing schoolwork, you don't talk a lot to people, you know? It's not like I was going to talk to my parents. I fucking hate them. So I didn't talk very much, and I found myself getting bad at talking. And that sucks, because my job now is talking. So I feel like I'm recovering my non-existent speaking skills, or public speaking skills, after, like, 6 years of saying like 50 words a day. All right, let's continue.
That I'm necessarily anti-self-isolation, but more so anti-government imposed self-isolation.
Our new normal does not mean that we will sacrifice our freedoms for our safety.
The key thing is that working with good data is going to allow the US government to continue to make.
So here's the issue. We got a few issues that we have to go down the line here, right? So the government forces us to do things with the threat of violence every second of every single day. Nothing about this coronavirus stuff and us being, like, government forced self-isolation is new. There is always a metaphorical gun to the back of your head preventing you from doing certain things, and the state always has that gun to the back of your head. The state will execute you, usually, I mean, depends on where you are, if the death penalty is there, if you murder somebody or commit a certain crime. You can be locked up in forced to stay in one place, even worse than self-isolation, if you commit a crime. And these crimes are arbitrarily defined by the state in the form of laws and rules. Right? And so this is always happening, constantly. It's nothing new. The state always has a gun to the back of your head, metaphorically speaking, and forcing you to do or not do certain things. On top of that, it's not just your safety we have to worry about. If you are sick, or at the possibility of getting sick, and just even if you're willing to go out and work, you going out and working harms the health of others. There are people who are immunocompromised. There are people who simply don't want to get COVID, that don't want people out working and spreading the virus and making it more prevalent and making it kill more people and get out there. There are people who don't want to get it, even if you don't care. It's not purely your decision, especially older people who have a way higher chance of dying from it. Yeah, I mean, the whole line of arguments you hear from the, like, we gotta open up the economy, we gotta get back to work. It's literally a death cult. It's the perfect example of capitalism being a death cult.
Better decisions.
I'm not able to work in my given profession. Despite this, I'm pro-quarantine.
Oh shit, he has the same name as I do. But, oh god, his hairline, if I remember correctly, his hairline was not looking good. Hold on.
For our safety.
The key thing is that working with good data is going to allow the US government to continue to make better decisions.
I'm not able to
Oh boy. Oh no no no. God damn. Listen, I like this guy, he's pro self-isolation, but that hairline is just... Let's be honest, at this point, just shave your head, alright? Just go for the slick, clean-shaved head look, alright? It can look good. The clean-shaved head look can look good. But don't let your hair do this, okay? Once your hairline is receded this much, it's just time to go right off, okay? You'll look way better, I promise.
To work in my given profession. Despite this, I'm pro-quarantine.
I own my own practice, but...
Hey, it's not body shaming. Your hair isn't technically part of your body. It's dead skin cells, okay? So get out of here with that.
So the quarantine, I'm only seeing patients 2 times a week.
It might be hard to understand why people...
Wait, every single person that's pro-quarantine that they bring up on screen is a doctor. You guys notice that? I haven't seen a single anti-self-isolation person who's a doctor so far. That's nice to see.
People would gather like this while a deadly virus ravages America.
What if it was your mother? What if your infant son or daughter gets sick?
My name is Cedric Jamie Rutland. I'm a pulmonary critical care physician in Southern California, Newport Beach, and Riverside, California.
My man, Dr. Cedric. Alright, so... this is an issue that I have with Jubilee. So something that they tend to do, from what I've seen, is they love to make certain arguments or discussions seem like there is an actual debate going on in, professional settings, with a lot of issues, right? Like, they'll do flat earth versus globe earth, right? And they'll bring 3 flat earthers and 3 scientists who are not flat earthers, right? And they'll make it seem like there's an actual debate happening here. There's not an actual debate happening here. The entirety of the scientific community fucking knows, as well as most of the world, knows that the earth is round, or knows, I mean, I guess technically, like, unless you've seen it yourself, you can't know for sure. But makes the educated decision that, yes, the Earth is probably flat. With our understanding of physics, our understanding of what we've seen, how science works, what we're able to observe on the Earth, we basically know the Earth isn't flat. But they make it seem like... Oh yeah, they're doing it as a Zoom video, I know. It'll be a little different. Hey, at least there won't be a mutual hug at the end, right? You know how they'll make everyone hug at the end to sort of, like, you know, hug it out after the debate? At least we won't have to see that shit like they did with the TERFs versus trans people one. I think I saw that like a week ago. Yeah, and so basically they'll do that, and they'll do that with like climate change too. Like okay, flat Earth is one thing, right? That's not as harmful. But then they'll do it with like an issue like climate change, right? Where they'll have 3 like scientists or something. Well, usually it'll just be 3 people that believe and know that climate change is real, and then 3 climate change deniers. And they'll make it seem like it's a 50-50 argument. It is not a 50-50 argument. I think it's 99.7 or something like no, it's 97% of scientists agree that man-made climate change is real and a life-threatening issue to the existence of Earth and people on it. So I really hate how Jubilee does that, like makes it seem like this is a fair or an equal argument that's happening here, with 2 sides split down the middle. It is not. The doctors all agree we need to be in quarantine. It's 98%. Nice. We need to be in quarantine. We need to fight the coronavirus. This is the only way we can do it. If you are upset about it because the government isn't, or you aren't able to afford what you need to survive, take that up with the government. You need to demand the government gives you what you need to survive, the money that you need to survive, so you can pay your bills, to pay your rent, to buy food, buy groceries, things like that. Don't demand to reopen the economy so you can go back to work while there's a pandemic going around. That is not what you should be marching down the street and chanting for, if you're going to do that.
California, and I am pro self-isolation.
Hi, I'm Dagny. I'm an ophthalmologist. I live here with my husband. I'm an expecting mom-to-be here in Orange County, California, and I am pro self-isolation.
Hi, I'm Alex. I live with my boyfriend and another roommate in a very small apartment.
Oh shit, he is a twink. He's gay. Oh man, we got him.
and I am pro self-isolation.
Poggers. Wait, who was that said they love the twink energy? Hold on. Somebody said they love the twink energy. You actually have a chance now. Yeah, we got a gay person. Poggers. Love gay people.
My name's Austin. I'm a chiropractor. I live here in Newport.
If this man is listen, if this fucking chiropractor is anti-self-isolation, oh, I'm gonna lose my shit, okay? Oh, God.
Beach, California. I would consider myself anti-self-isolation.
Hi, I'm Allie Marie. I am a massage and craniosacral therapist by trade, but am currently a stay-at-home mom, and I'm about 20 weeks.
2 non-medical doctors in a row, by the way, on the no self-isolation side. I'd just like to point that out. 2 non-medical doctors. Just love to see it. A fucking massage therapist and a chiropractor. Oof. All right, what's the third one?
Pregnant, and I am anti-self-isolation.
Hi, I am Julia. I live with my family.
All right. Is she going to be a doctor? Or not like anything? Is she just gonna be some random lady, right? Because it seems like I don't know if this guy said he was a doctor. I think he just said he's just like, I think he might just be some gay dude, right? Did he say he had a? Was he a real estate agent? I don't think he has like any medical professional. I think he just said that he lives with his boyfriend. That's it, right? So is it like 2? So it's like 2 doctors. I mean, on this side, 2 doctors, and then 2 doctors, and then like 2 laypersons. Yep, some gay dude. Neat. I'm actually curious. All right, who's ready? What'd she do? What'd she do for a living? I'm ready.
Here in Texas, I am anti-self-isolation.
Oh wait, okay. So these 2, the 2 on the bottom here, are not doctors. Okay, so it's 2 doctors, 2 quacks, and 2 laypersons that disagree with each other. Okay.
I know somebody who has been infected with COVID-19. Can the disagreeers please turn off their cameras?
I know a physician colleague in New York who was infected and actually is an expecting mom, but thankfully she's doing okay and on the road.
Wait, what if like the baby, like if you get coronavirus and you're like pregnant, like really long, like into your pregnancy, and like you get over the coronavirus, then your baby is born like a month later, do you think the baby would have antibodies for the coronavirus in it? I know nothing about this, and you probably shouldn't take this from me, but I remember thinking that in The Walking Dead, since everybody is infected, maybe the babies that are born after the apocalypse would be like immune to the virus or something. That would be a cool twist. I always wondered that. So listen, I'm not a doctor, don't take this from me, but maybe we should actually, maybe that would be a good thing to test. Maybe the babies of people who had coronavirus and got over it will have antibodies. That would be pretty poggers.
Road to recovery. I also know someone from my neighborhood who unfortunately passed away, and he's actually relatively young.
One old partner of mine who's a little younger than me, probably 34, 35, who was infected with COVID-19. His case was mild. I had another...
It wouldn't matter because it can't cross the placental barrier. That's all right. Well, it was worth a try.
Physician friend of mine who was older, probably about 55 or so, he was infected with COVID and I had to take care of him.
I'll talk to a little bit different point, maybe. One of my coworkers here.
I'm never going to this chiropractor, by the way. I do want to go to a chiropractor eventually because my, I have extremely terrible back problems. I think you guys are probably aware of this if you've ever seen me crack my back on stream. I've got real bad back problems, and I do want to go to a chiropractor eventually, but they are not medical doctors, okay? You don't go to them for advice on a fucking pandemic, okay? They aren't medical doctors. There's a reason why there's a clarification or what's the word I'm thinking of, a distinction between medical doctors and someone who's like a chiropractor or like a massage therapist or like a physical trainer or something like that. There's a distinction. Do your research. Most of the medical world's quacks go into that field. Yeah, exactly. You have to be really careful if you want to get a chiropractor because most of them are quacks.
Her father had a heart attack, but he was diagnosed with COVID at the hospital, and ultimately they were told that COVID-19 killed the patient, when really it seems that the heart attack and complications from cardiovascular disease were ultimately the issue. The other healthcare professionals in the group here, I would love to hear your opinion on that as far as what you maybe heard about how they're counting who qualifies as a COVID case and what the cause of death was necessarily.
Yeah, I heard. Listen, I'm a chiropractor, and I know nothing about a pandemic. Oh shit!
Don't let chiros touch your neck. They do some dangerous stuff.
Thank you for the $5, Crimson Drummer. Listen, guys. Listen, if it means I die and have a horrible death with a broken neck, I'm still getting a chiropractor. Okay, the pain that I'm constantly in every day from my back issues is actually crazy. Thank you for the $5 though. Thank you for the $5 super chat. I really want this doctor or this doctor to go fucking God mode on this dude. He looks like he looks angry, like he's about to be like, all right, this guy's fucking stupid. Here we go. I'm ready.
Here's what we've discovered.
Yes.
When you look at these patients that have COVID-19 is as a result of the presence of the virus within your blood vessels and your bloodstream. It leads to the activation of the coagulation system. So their blood can clot easier. So we've seen heart attacks, we've seen strokes, we've seen pulmonary embolisms. And so your point is well taken. He died of a heart attack, yes, but COVID-19 is a significant risk factor of coagulation.
All right, that's good to know. This is actually something, is it my trapezius? No, it's just like right here in my spine, and I'll like crack it and it feels good. You know, it's actually a good point. So something that happens, and I've talked about this before on stream, I have read quite a bit about the coronavirus and the issues. There is likely way more cases than are documented and way more deaths than are documented. Because right now, at least in the United States, tests are not very available, and they only mark a death as like a coronavirus death if it was a confirmed case of coronavirus, from what I've seen. It's very likely that people are dying from other things, from other symptoms, that, and were never like designated as having coronavirus. As they just said, your blood clots and thickens when you have coronavirus because you have the virus in your bloodstreams. It makes it coagulate a lot. And so you can have strokes. It's basically when a clot cuts off blood flow to your brain and part of your brain is deprived of blood. I mean, that causes a stroke. You can die from pulmonary embolisms, which I believe is when a clot gets stuck in your heart valves and your heart ends up fucking up, and so that can cause a heart attack. All sorts of issues with your circulatory system. That's your blood, right? Circulatory system. You wouldn't, like, that's not, like, on the list of symptoms, right? When someone dies of a heart attack, you don't think that's coronavirus. You think, oh, coronavirus is, like, you know, your lungs filled up with fluid or something. And so there are probably a lot of people dying from heart attacks and cardiovascular issues, which, by the way, are, like, the #1 leading cause of death in the United States. So it's extremely likely that a shit ton of people are dying from these cardiovascular issues, and they're being socked up to just, oh yeah, Americans just have, they eat a lot of cholesterol and they die from heart and cardiovascular issues a lot. So there's probably way more deaths in cases in the United States than we even know.
The disagreeers can join the conversation now.
I do want to talk about the antibody test that they've started and the extreme percentages that they've seen. There was the one that they did randomized in California recently where they were getting as high as 55%. For all I know, I've had it. My daughter and I were sick for 6 weeks this winter. Right now in Michigan, Governor Whitmer is calling for all essential workers to be tested, but there's no antibody test to go right alongside it. So my husband, who's an essential worker, could go get tested, comes back negative. What, does he have to get a weekly test now when he could have already had it this winter with us and just had very mild symptoms?
I'd like to make a point.
Wait, how is that an argument against... Wait, how is that an argument against self-isolation? What? Yeah, so he has to get Okay, so for starters, if society is going to continue to function, we basically have to have essential workers working. Now, if you're sick and you're an essential worker, you need to not go to work because you're sick. But if you're not sure because you've been in contact with someone who's symptomatic that might have had it or something, or you've been in contact with somebody who is confirmed to have had it, wear a mask, wear gloves, wash your hands, do everything you can do to make sure that just in case you're not infectious. Our essential workers and our healthcare workers are extremely, extremely, extremely valuable right now to be working and making sure that society is still able to function, that we're able to go to grocery stores and buy food and not die. the power to stay on, for infrastructure to continue to exist while this is happening. Very grateful to them, and we definitely need them to be doing their thing, right? It would be great if we didn't have to have them out there doing their thing, but it's still good to do that, right? But if there's a possibility that you might have it, just wear a mask. Wearing a mask doesn't help so much with catching, and I mean, it obviously helps, but the mask is more for preventing you from spreading it if you think you maybe have it. Because if you're coughing into the mask. If you're talking and breathing, you're breathing into the mask. It's a layer of protection if you think maybe you have it.
Point, because I want the doctors in the group chat to respond to this. I have heard that getting COVID does not mean you won't get it again.
There have definitely been cases in the US and outside showing that those who recovered actually went on and tested positive again for the virus. So that is a little bit concerning because we were all kind of betting that once you get infected, you'd be immune. That previous assumption was based on what we know from similar viruses from before. It just goes to show that we still don't know a lot about this virus.
Oh yeah, that's still an issue that I feel like is still kind of contested. Like, are you immune after you get it? Probably not. Does everyone who gets COVID need to go to the hospital in order to survive? No. So COVID, it depends though, because it can be really, really bad. The biggest issue is that when you get COVID, it feels like you have like a someone sitting on your chest, right? Your chest is really tight. It can fill up with fluid. If it fills up with fluid, you have to have your lungs drained. And if not, you'll just drown. You'll have a dry drowning or a dry land drowning. Because you'll just drown in the pus that's filling up your lungs. That can happen if it gets really bad, but like it's going to be hard to breathe if you get it because it feels like your chest is just being crushed. And then there's other symptoms as well, like if it's like upper respiratory, you're going to have a lot of issues with your throat and your nose. It's just fucking terrible. It's just unbelievably uncomfortable. There's an unusually high mortality rate, and it has, from what I've heard, it has some long-term effects as well. People who got it at the beginning of this pandemic and haven't gotten it again have like really limited breathing ability. Like they can't hold their breath very long, and they have really a lot of shortness of breath, right? So if you're like an athlete and you get it and you recover from it, it's going to severely impact you, from what I've read. It's like binding. If you wear a binder longer than intended, it feels uncomfortable and it sucks. Yeah. Any trans dudes or fembies in chat who bind their chests will know it's a bit like that if you were to wear a binder for too long. That's what I've been told.
The scare of the virus is overhyped.
Oh shit. Even the Karen who thought it who's anti self-isolation turned off her camera.
I think that the scare has been largely driven by...
Okay, this lady is not a doc. She's just some lady. This is just some Facebook soccer mom, okay? She's not a doctor. She's just a Facebook soccer mom. So that's gonna be the name of this stream, all right? Or the name of the video from this. Two quack doctors and a Facebook soccer mom say it's time to end quarantine. Something like that. I'll figure it out when I upload the video.
By the media. I know that initially there were models that came out of the Imperial College of London that claimed that millions of people would die. That was really used as the justification for these massive lockdowns, and we have not seen those numbers pan out at all.
Okay. She's very stupid. All right, so for starters, we're still in the beginning of this pandemic. It's not over just because the numbers are dropping. 2, the numbers are dropping and we're having a harder time getting to that number. Not that we want to get to it, but the things are slowing down because of the precautions that we took. We are doing self-isolation. Excuse me. We're doing quarantine. And these things are slowing down the spread of the virus. And now they're seeing that slowed down spread and saying, okay, well, it's over. It's time to open things back up again. When that's just going to make there be another fucking spike. God, yeah, Karen's. She's totally a Karen. With a hard K.
I agree with you that a lot of what we're seeing is media-created hysteria. There's a lot of new information that's coming out. We really think people were trying to do their best with the data that they were provided at the time. I especially have an issue with how the data is actually being collected and then ultimately how the deaths are being counted.
since we initiated social distancing, especially when you look at California, you can see...
He's gonna make the same argument I just did. No slurs, Xander Hall? Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm really sorry I said the Karen slur. Fuck, I said it again. Listen. A slur as bad as the K slur. We'll never say it again. I'm sorry.
That the amount of infections has slowed. And I actually saw this in the hospital. I saw the uptick, and then all of a sudden, as the governor got more restricted and as the state got more restricted in terms of isolation, you could see that California was beginning to flatten the curve and actually lead the nation in that. I agree with the self-isolation principle because it did what it was supposed to do, which was prevent the amount...
Yeah, the wobble. It's kind of like if you jump out of a plane, you're falling, and you pull your parachute, and you're like, oh, look, I'm falling slower now. I don't need my parachute anymore. And you take a knife and you cut the parachute off of you. You're just going to start falling again faster, and then you're going to hit the ground and die. That's basically what people who are anti-social isolation at this point are advocating for. We're just cut the parachute like 1,000 feet off the ground.
Amount of infections to bombard the hospital, because that's not what you want. I mean, we still have physicians getting infected, and the more infections you have in the hospital, the more likely it is for one of us to get infected, and then you have a reduction of healthcare workers to be able to manage these patients.
Someone called it even well ahead of time. If we find that weeks or months from now, the cases are not as bad as projected, people will say that we overreacted. When the truth is...
Yep, this will always be the case, right? It's going to be the same thing with the people protesting in the street, right? They're going to be like, this is just another example of the liberal government putting us all down. And if we do recover from this coronavirus thing and it doesn't kill us all, they're going to be like, see, we're overreacting the whole time. Once again, this is why we need another 4 more years of Trump.
That's just evidence that the things that we're doing right now, including self-isolation, has worked. And for those people who continue to compare, COVID-19 to a really bad flu season, well, let's look at the data. They're saying that, okay, a bad flu season, we have 60,000 deaths in the US. Right now with COVID-19, we have about 50,000. So it's comparable. Well, we have...
Comrade Yamada, thank you. Yeah, I'm really excited for Vash's Resident Evil 7 stream tonight. We gotta get this done by 8 p.m., okay? We're at 5:51. We're moving fast, okay? I'm turning the video up. We're going faster. I gotta have my stream done in time so I can watch Vash play Resident Evil 7, okay? I've been bitching at him. I've been bitching at him relentlessly for a year to play that fucking game, okay? I'm not missing a single stream, okay? Alright, we're speeding it up. 1.5 speed. We got 2 more videos to do today. We're hustling.
You have to look at the rate at which that's happening. That's in 1 year. Right now, we're in April, and we're already matching the worst flu season. I do agree the media is always biased, but when we have epidemiological and infectious disease experts calling this a pandemic, calling this as something unprecedented, I think that's real, and that is not hype.
In terms of the hospitals being filled to capacity, that's obviously...
She's just going to say dumb shit she read on Facebook. Why is Jubilee platforming these people? Why do they do this? I know it makes like a ton of money. Like, there's certain videos by Jubilee that I really, really like. For example, there's one that was like, 1 gamer, or like, 5 gamers and 1 fake gamer, and they're put into a room, and they have to ask each other questions and determine which one of them is the fake gamer. That was a cool video, but then they do these videos like this where they try to present some kind of middle ground on these issues. What point is there in finding a middle ground on the issue of, is climate change real or not? That's like if there was a meteorite coming towards the Earth that was going to blow it up in 3 months, and we were having debates on Jubilee about, is the meteorite real or not? Hey, guess what, fuckers? It's real, and it's going to kill us all, and the medical community, the scientific community, has agreed on this, and we need to do something about it. We cannot be platforming people who don't believe this shit. All we should be doing is debunking their bullshit, their conspiracy theories, and their misinformation. We need to be debunking it, not platforming it, because this is the issue, right? They don't always put the most competent debaters on these panels, right? Like right here, this one is actually pretty good because they have actual doctors versus some quacks, right? And like some Facebook soccer mom. That's good. I'm happy with that. This one is better than usual. But what they usually do is they have like 3 like on most issues, like with climate change or with like trans issues, things like that, they'll have 3 random liberals they pulled off the street, and then 3 media trained like conservative figures with like a massive fan base. It's ridiculous. I really hate how they do this. Listen, most left-leaning people in America are liberals and not leftists. That's why I say liberals off the street, okay? Oh shit.
Shouldn't be that hard. Virus spreads through the air. Avoid crowds. Shut down jobs that can't social distance while they work. Essential workers get hazard pay. Unemployed get UBI. Medicare for all.
Damn right, Ekim. Oniram, thank you for the $10. Thank you. I really appreciate it. Listen, I still got the burps, okay? I'm never eating before stream ever again, okay?
A situation that nobody would want. It appears to me that the US healthcare system didn't become as swamped as they had originally predicted. And I think that going back in history, quarantines tend to be for the sick as opposed to the healthy. And I wonder if maybe we would take more of an approach where the sick are being quarantined, which I think is very justifiable, as opposed to everybody who's healthy being quarantined. That might be more appropriate.
This is like a day fucking one understanding of how epidemiology works, like to understand this. What the fuck? You do realize there's like, what, a 14-day incubation period on the virus where you're asymptomatic? You can be asymptomatic and still be infectious. You can be showing no symptoms, which you need to be showing in order to for people to know you're sick so you can be quarantined. You can go 14 days walking around, doing shit. Everything is open, doing things, infecting people while you're asymptomatic for 14 fucking days. And then, after 14 days, after 2 weeks, then you start displaying symptoms after you've been infectious and infecting people everywhere for literal weeks. Oh my god, how stupid can you be? Did I say confectious? Listen, I'm not a good speaker, alright? I'll get better at it. I just need practice, okay?
With that is that we don't know who's sick with SARS-CoV-2. There are many different estimations of how many people are asymptomatic. I myself have seen people be asymptomatic that are positive for the virus. So that becomes an issue, at least with the Spanish flu.
God, he's saying exactly what I'm saying. I'm a fucking doctor. Give me my PhD, or what do you get? A doctorate. Yeah, give me my doctorate right now. I want it. A doctorate's what you get when you're like a doctor, right? Am I wrong? Listen, I can't afford college. Why would I know? MD, yeah, MD. Why do I think doctorate? Is it because it just has doctor in it? Okay, well, retarded. That's my one. Hey, that's my one. I get to say retard once a day, and that's it right there. Okay. All right. Yeah, Dr. Zanderhall. I'm gonna rename myself that. The 1918 Spanish flu pandemic infected 500 million people. The death toll is estimated to have been anywhere from 17 million to 50 million, and possibly as high as 100 million. Holy shit.
You knew who was sick. And so until testing is rampant throughout the country and we're able to know who is asymptomatic, I agree with you. Quarantining the people who have SARS-CoV-2, if we tested everyone, is the most appropriate and probably the single best treatment that we can provide across the nation.
With the United States, our judicial system is founded and rooted within innocent until proven guilty. Now, I'm not saying...
We got her. What is this? What is she about to say? She's been reading Facebook. She's been reading Facebook.
There's anything wrong with us acting like we're a carrier, washing our hands, using antibacterial sanitizer, but ultimately, I don't think it's right or fair for the government to say, you're not showing symptoms, but you could be sick, so you're going to stay home. It's like sending somebody on trial to prison because they could have been guilty.
This isn't...
It's not a punishment. It's a precaution being taken to save lives, you dumb bitch.
Like, putting people in prison because they're sick. I think this is actually more of a political difference than, like, I guess, a medical argument. There are people making the argument that we should end self-isolation because a few 100,000 deaths is worth sacrificing for the economy. I disagree with that. Some people would agree with that until it's their mother who dies, or their uncle, or their grandfather.
Slowing the curve is more important than human rights during the quarantine.
Okay. Oh, that's such a fucking loaded statement. Fuck. Alright. I'm giving my take first. It's such a dishonestly loaded fucking statement. Okay. Human rights. What are human rights? Literally nobody agrees on this question. The general public does not agree on what are human rights, alright? Many people say healthcare is a human right. Most people in America say healthcare is not a human right. There are generally a set of things that people agree are human rights, but, like, we don't all agree on this. What is a right and what isn't is made up completely by the government that you live under. And at the end of the day, those rights are only upheld by that government because you live under it. If they wanted to, the government could deploy the military and just fucking nuke an American city. I mean, they wouldn't. Maybe. Trump's pretty bad. But, For real, the government could declare martial law and allow the police to shoot anybody in the street right now. Like, if they wanted to, they could deploy martial law. They could have, we have a very militarized police force here in the United States. Literally have the United States police force with tanks and like urban vehicles, like urban war vehicles, coming out and shooting people that are protesting in the street. They can do that, but they don't unless it's like black people protesting or something over like some Black Lives Matter thing. Then you usually have riot police coming and tear gassing them and shooting rubber bullets at them. But regardless, police tanks, yeah, the police can have tanks. That can happen. The United States government is what gives us our rights, and they can take them away at any minute. They have the power to. The discussion is whether or not the American people collectively would be willing to come together and fight against said government if that happened. Now, there's also the discussion of whether or not, like, the majority of the military, of the United States military, would, like, go with the government if they decided, yeah, we're revoking the First Amendment and the Second Amendment and basically all of them, and we're gonna become, like, a super, shitty, like, authoritarian regime, super fascist and blah, blah, blah. Like, they could do that. But they don't. So what is a human right is literally determined entirely by what government you live under. Because guess what? That's what has the power over you, okay? Oh shit.
I guess I'll be the devil's advocate and just I'm going to take issue with the framing. Probably a better phrase would be civil rights, perhaps. Limiting people's ability to gather is certainly an infringement on civil rights, but I would agree that the actions that have been taken are worth slowing the curve. Everyone can attack me now.
There's no attacking, man. It's a hard one.
Yeah, it was just him. It was just him that turned it off. I'm sorry, I forgot. Okay.
Attacking. I just wasn't gonna make a ridiculous, like, extreme statement. That's crazy.
So I'm in Michigan, where some of the most extreme lockdowns have taken place. Governor Whitmer just today extended our stay-at-home order 15 days, but relaxed some of the restrictions that everyone was so mad about. As far as, there was a huge Lansing protest recently, Operation Gridlock, that was organized by the Michigan Conservative Coalition. That was all.
Not makeup, chat. It's chapstick. Look, it's Nivea. Can actually see it because my ring light is so fucking bright. It's Nivea, not it's chapstick. Oh shit. Yo, website chat died. Yo, is my internet still on? Okay, my internet's still on. We're good. Okay. All right, and chat's back. All right. We continue.
All about the fact that she.
Next, we're gonna go back to this. There we go. All right, it's fixed.
It was not allowing all of these businesses to work that were able to practice social distancing. Some governors are willing to go to whatever extent it takes, because it definitely has been an infringement on, like, all of our civil rights to be able to go out. I mean, Harris County, I believe it's in Texas, right, that just said that you'll be fined $1,000 if you don't wear a mask in public.
The local police union in Harris County actually came out and said they will not be enforcing that because they view it as unconstitutional. There's definitely a balance there between federal overreach versus states' rights. So California, even where you are, it's a very different
states' rights to what?
Scenario in terms of the level of outbreak, the number of patients. Taking kind of an individual approach, I think, is important. If you're in a state that has seen very few cases, I don't know that the response needs to be the same. The federal government stepping in would make it a one-size-fits-all, and I don't know that any of us would feel that was appropriate.
I think that charging people $1,000 fine for not having face mask is classist and is regressive. Who's
true? That's really good. That's a really fucking true statement. You know what the police should be doing instead of fining people for not having a face mask? Giving them a free one. The police should be having a bin of face masks in their fucking car, in their, like, police car, and if they see a person walking down the street who doesn't have one, hand one to, just hand them one. Give them a free one. They need it, clearly. I live in Harris County, and literally no one here has had the fine enforced, and the dumbasses aren't wearing masks at all. Yeah, and that's gonna cause the virus to get worse there. Alright, let's continue.
Less likely to have access to masks, it's poor people, and they don't have $1,000 to pay a fine. I agree that, you have to find a fine line between an authoritarian response and something that's responsible to all people. I think that the federal government, and I'm talking about both parties here, I have a lot of issues with both sides. I think they need to be taking a leading role. When you have disparate responses from states, what you risk is states with a less extreme reaction or protocol. You risk those people going across state borders and actually spreading the virus more. And we don't want to get to a point where we have to shut down state borders.
I agree with that.
The US government is handling the crisis well.
No, I don't know about that one. I mean, we've got Dr. Fauci, and he's trying. He's really trying. I feel so bad for Dr. Fauci. He probably feels like Chicken Little, being like, coronavirus is a big fucking deal, and Trump is like, listen to me, Fauci, listen. I need you to stop making me look bad. I'm going to fire you if you don't stop, okay? You can say what you want, little Fauci, okay? My supporters are calling for me to fire you and replace you with Jared Kushner or something. I don't know. But listen, talk about it how you like. We're doing phenomenally. The United States is handling the virus phenomenally. The United States having the highest death rate and the most infections is fake news. The socialist country of Italy has way more infections, way more deaths. I believe me. Anyone who says otherwise, it's fake news. Believe me, okay? Yeah, and that's basically what Fauci is dealing with. I can't do a Trump voice, okay? Yeah, I feel so bad for Fauci. Poor man.
People aren't wearing masks. Liberals let them buy a mask for 50 cents. Leftists give them out. Conservatives charge them $10,000.
True. Thank you for the $5, the Crimson Drummer. I really appreciate it. Thank you for the super chat, buddy. You helped me keep the lights on.
I am very torn on how I actually feel about this. My dad owns a small business. I've read a lot of the different arguments on the payroll protection plan and a bunch of the different deals with Shake Shack and everything else, which there are a lot of details that go into that. If 75% of any loan that's given to the business owners has to be paid into employee benefits. He has a company that's 220 employees, so you're talking $65 million in revenue every year. And so some would say his business is too big. He shouldn't have gotten it. But that's 220 employees that he's taking care of. There can be an emotional response saying they're not protecting the mom and pop shops. They're not protecting this. But ultimately, 220 employees are getting their salaries and 4 aren't. And while it's emotionally sad to see those smaller businesses...
This literally isn't an argument for the government handling this crisis well. You do realize if anybody in this country isn't able to get by, the government's not doing a good job. There's plenty of wealth. There's plenty of resources in this country. Here we go. Here comes the socialist memers. Guess what? Guess what I've been reading? I've been listening to an audiobook. I've been listening to The Conquest of Bread, alright? I'm about an hour and a half into the audiobook, alright? There's more than enough resources and wealth in this country to take care of fucking everybody, okay? Plenty to make sure everyone is taken care of, for starters. 2, the fact that the government isn't taking care of everybody, and if there is a single person who isn't taken care of by the government of the country that people are forced to live in, because guess what? If you're born in a country, you're forced to live here until you get citizenship elsewhere. You can't just, like, leave unless you want to legally live somewhere else, and that doesn't really work out. It's not that simple. If you are forced to live in a country and pay taxes to that country, you should at the very least be taken care of enough that you don't have to go out and work during a pandemic. Your basic essential needs as a citizen of this country, as a person, should be taken care of by the country that you are an inhabitant of.
Forced close, we're going to be in a little bit of a depression, we're going to hit a recession, and so we're all in this together, and I think the bipartisan support has been really lacking, especially in the beginning. But I think that
I will read it on stream, Comrade Courtney. Don't worry.
They're somehow finding a way.
So all I'm saying, and I think it's really simple, is you have all this money that we're giving to businesses, and I think it's appropriate, and I think that they should. The issue is just testing. Take some of that money and give the country some tests. Antibody testing and the PCR testing. So until that's done and distributed across the country, no, I don't think it's a job well done.
Can you tell me why that's such a priority? I know we need to know how many people have it, but can you explain to me why that's so critical? I just don't know.
If we give everyone an antibody test, we're going to know who the sick are. IgM is what gets produced acutely. It's a type of antibody in your bloodstream to SARS-CoV-2. So you'll know who's infected. IgG means that you've had a sustained response to the system and your body has had enough time to develop a neutralizing antibody. So you'll be able to quarantine the sick without being symptomatic.
I haven't got my stimulus check.
I really like that guy. Maybe it's because I agree with him and he's a doctor, but I really like him. He's got the good arguments. He looks like he'd be a good debater.
Yeah, I don't know about anybody else. My rent has already been due. Where the hell is the check? I already need another check. The government needs to be focusing on...
You know, you could just, organize a rent strike with other tenants in your area. You could do that. Or if your landlord comes by asking, yo, where's my money? You could always just kind of, grab a baseball bat, sneak up behind them, swing at them, knock them out, put them in your basement, tie them up, keep them down there. No one's going to look for them down there, in Minecraft. In a video game. In-game. Can we all say it, chat? In-game.
On helping individuals who are stuck at home and who have no way of surviving. I think the fact that the federal government...
Yeah, in Resident Evil 7, of course.
House specifically for months was saying that this was a hoax and that this was completely blown out of proportion was hugely detrimental to our response.
South Korea did a great job, Taiwan did a great job, but unfortunately that is not what I can say for the United States. Things are turning around, and all these stimulus packages that they're doing, the fact that they're vowing to expand testing is definitely on a better track. And my husband, he was one of the first in line when that CARES package came out to sign up for the forgivable business loan and PPP, and he didn't get it. And it was heartbreaking to hear that these large corporations—
shit, she's married. My whole chat on suicide watch.
Were getting access to that money. So even though the
Pepe
government was doing
hands.
something of good intent, the way that it was executed, unfortunately, wasn't the best.
Daggy, you mentioned South Korea and admired South Korea, how their response was. Well, to my knowledge, they had trackers on everybody's cellular device that was monitoring where they were going. That just in itself, to me, is a completely asinine principle from the First Amendment. Like the fact the government is tracking your every move seems a lot like house arrest.
The tracker system—
Something tells me he doesn't take issue with Google tracking his every move. Guess what? We all carry these things around in our pockets, okay? Ignore how fucking disgusting my phone is, alright? I haven't washed it in 2 years, okay? We all carry these things in our pockets. We shop on these things. We Google things on these things. We go places on these things. It knows everything. If you want to know, like, the amount of data that people collect, or that, like, companies collect off of your phone, look up, it's a Philosophy Tube video called Data. And he basically goes down all the arguments for why it's good and why it's bad for our phones to collect our data. Or just for our data to be collected in general. Trust me, the government is the least of your worries when it comes to people that are tracking you using technology, tracking your data, tracking your movements, tracking your habits. I promise you, the government is not as bad as the predatory the predatory ads you're going to be given, and the potential of your data being stolen and sold to companies. We all know what people do with your data once they get it, you know? We all know this.
That South Korea used has generally been praised by most countries, and one of the main reasons that they were able to avoid a peak and have to implement quarantine. And we, the US, are actually taking lessons from them. But it's not as authoritarian as you think. We all have the option to opt out. But the only way this is going to work is if you opt in.
I don't want to be ableist, but why do you have an Android? Listen, if you're a leftist and you have an Apple phone, what the fuck are... Okay, listen, I should say, it's okay if you have an Apple phone, but if you're a leftist and you shit-talk people for not having an Apple phone, and you shame people for having an Android, what the fuck are you doing? Apple is literally one of the most, like, disgustingly egregious... We're gonna wrap up this part here, because I think we've gone over all the arguments, but I want to finish this up with a rant. Hold on. Apple is, without a doubt, one of the most, like, openly disgusting companies when it comes to, like, marketing and selling their products, right? You do realize there's, like, shit tons of videos online of people building the exact specs of, like, the new Mac computers that Apple releases for, like, $800, and meanwhile Apple is selling them for $8,000. You do realize that, like, this is a huge issue, right? Apple phones have shit for battery. They die after like after a year. Like they purposely put what's it called? It's like called somethingware. Apple does updates onto their older phones that purposely slows them down, so people buy them. Bloatware. They put bloatware on your phone through updates like years after the phones come out to slow down old Apple phones so people get a new one. Apple thrives! They fucking... Yeah, planned obsolescence as well. They thrive on having lines of rich, snooty people, or even better, they love to prey on poor people. You ever hear the phrase, it's expensive to be poor? They purposefully prey on poor people and market their phones to poor people and be like, hey, guess what? You want to matter? You want to feel like you're successful? Buy an Apple phone, because then you won't get made fun of for having an Android and being poor. Fuck off. I want an Android that's functional and does what the fuck I want it to do, has a long battery life, can last for years without becoming fucking obsolete because of bloatware. Listen, whoever the fuck does Android is not a great fucking, or what's it called? This is like, who run T-Mobile, I think. Yeah, Metro or whatever. That's my plan on this. Fucking terrible company, okay? All corporations are terrible, but Apple is overly fucking egregious, okay? Listen, you can say, oh yeah, I just like the, do you have the emojis though? What the fuck are you talking about? I don't text people. I literally use my phone to communicate on 3 different platforms. I use Twitter, I use Instagram, and I use Discord. I don't text people. I use Instagram, Twitter, and Discord. And I use Discord. I use my emotes from my server and Discord Nitro. So I use Pepe's and shit like that. On Instagram has its own emojis, and I'm pretty sure it's the same on fucking Twitter. Like, who cares about that shit? Why are you paying $1,000 for a phone that's gonna be obsolete in a year, and you're gonna be wanting the new one, getting made fun of for having an old one, when you can just get a decent fucking phone that does the job it's meant to do, made pretty fucking well, has a bigger screen. The only, like, downside to this phone is I guess the camera isn't as good. Like, what do I want to send, like, Ultra HD dick pics to my girlfriend or something? Honestly. Like, what the fuck? No, I don't think my girlfriend wants to see every single fucking detail of my dick when I send her dick pics on my phone, okay? Like, who wants that? Who wants that? Alright. That's a fun
100% right. Apple is even trying to push for the abolition of right to repair.
Of course they are. Of course they are. Thank you for the $5, Crimson Drummer. I really appreciate it, buddy.